morning, everyone. CX leaders, CX innovators. Good afternoon from whichever part of the world that you are going to be hearing this conversation with Ali, the regional director for Zoho, Middle East, North Africa. Ali spearheads Zoho Corp for the region, and it's an absolute pleasure to have Ali on the CX Chat Show, where we would be engaging, we would be connecting with CX leaders, CX innovators on their take on customer experience during this ongoing pandemic situation. Ali, welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you on board. I know you are the regional director for Zoho. Apart from carrying the huge hat of the regional director, what are your passions in life? A quick two-word, two sentences about yourself so that you can introduce you to the audience as well.
Thank you for having me. It is my pleasure to be with you today, Mohammed. Well, under my spare time, I usually, read about history and human relations, anthropology. Of course, I'm a movie buff, and I love technology. So at work or at home, I've always followed the news. Yeah.
Fantastic. Ali, just to start this conversation, I would like to quote a very, very famous saying on the customer experience as well as on employee experience. And this is from Richard Branson. Uh, he has said, I'm sure you would have also come across this, take care of your employees and your employees will take care of your organization. And I felt in this challenging times, in this pandemic situation, take care of your customers and your customers will take care of your organization in terms of business. And we all will agree to the fact that your internal employees or your employees happens to be the biggest advocates of your brand, of your organization. They're the most loyalist people that you can come across for your organization. So how do we, during these testing times where every individual is going through hardships, as a person who is very, very passionate about customer experience and employee experience, and of course, being the regional director, how do you address this situation, balance, the issues of employee experience and customer experience? What's your take on that, Ali?
It's quite important that you're mentioning employee experience and customer experience in the same context. Because yes, you take care of your customers, they take care of you, and you take care of employees, they take care of you. But if you take care of your employees, they will also take care of your customers. So it sounds very obvious, but to push customer employees to a point where they become advocates or ambassadors of your brand, this is the highest level of satisfaction. The best customers for us are the ones who are our ambassadors, who are our advocates without us even paying anything, tangible to them. So, and in these testing times, differentiating between what we were doing before and now is quite important. One of the areas is to show real sympathy. There's a difference between a company where they keep sending random greeting cards in different occasions and ending up spamming the customer, just showing, hello, we are here, we're just here to bother you. That's the outcome of that versus a company that sympathizes with the customers, understands the needs of, if I'm addressing an SME, understand their needs and offers them something that they could use during these times. So appreciating the situation and empathizing with your customer nowadays is more important than ever. If customer is calling your call center, hello, we are here to help you, is not going to help anymore. We're really going to have to change the questions we're asking and the way we are answering. People are very smart, unlike what we want to think. People are super smart. Even if they don't know something is wrong, in their unconscious mind, they will know that, okay, I don't like these answers. It is disingenuine. It's not genuine. They're trying to be empathetic, but they're not. So there's a fine line now that people are more frustrated, more anxious, less patient. probably because they've been dealing with their kids for 8 hours a day at home. We need to be that rock and listen to them. I'll share one short story. A few days ago, I was talking to a friend, and they were telling me that it is amazing that post-lockdown, people, the either customers or the merchants or the retailers, they want to talk more than they wanted to talk 3 months ago. They miss talking to people either at all or other than their families. So they
True.
spend more time. It's such a nice, thing to focus on. Okay, why people need to talk more, and how can we serve them better as businesses? And I expand this also to our employees. How do we sympathize and empathize more with our employees? That would be the area where we should focus right now.
And I think I would like to add a point over here. Of course, sympathy and empathizing with your customers definitely a top priority for almost all the enterprises and for the organization, irrespective of their sizes. But few things which I personally felt for organization, this is not the time to sell to your customers, push a product onto them.
True.
And it's all about understanding their well-being, and that's where the sympathy, the empathy, and we just go back to your the basics of customer experience.
True.
Now, with this ongoing situation, Ali, where do you see the CX trends, going? Do you think this is going to be the new normal? Are we, in terms of physical interactions, is there going to be a decline in that? Is digital, the perfect combination of physical and digital conversation? Is that going to be the new norm? Where do you see this progression leading into, Ali?
Mhm. I believe at least for the duration of 2020 in our region, and probably in a lot of other countries that we're monitoring closely, physical interactions will be massively limited, either by law or by the sheer fact that people are not comfortable anymore to attend an event or a setup that is like 30, 50, 100 people, let alone the bigger ones. This means, and within the advertising, promotion space, things are moving to digital. Now, we're going to face a lot of noise within the digital space because companies want to replace in-person customer interactions with digital interactions, which was noisy before. And then the marketers will want to bring a lot of activities that they were doing out of home advertising, billboards, so on and so forth, even more to digital. Means that our touch points with customers will be massively increased. And this could be alarming. We got to be very conscious of the fact that the customers are already receiving a lot of noise from us and from a lot of other sources. And so this will dilute the customer experience even further than just replacing physical with digital, because it will be added to a pile of garbage that they're not happy with. So that's the warning there. And we have to be conscious of the fact that we can still use digital the way we are using it right now. I mean, I definitely prefer for us to sit around the table, probably have a sip of coffee and interact in person. Nothing replaces that. But to bring the digital experience in a space that customers still feel exclusive. They feel that they're important to us. They are given that airtime, that space, that enough attention to what they want. Now, this is not easy because first of all, you have to cross the the technology barrier to replace this 2D image of us with something that is more appealing. Then CX teams they usually belong under marketing. They need to work closer than ever with the sales and support teams. Because no
Absolutely.
matter how empathetic you are to your customer, when the support team is overworked, and turns into a bottleneck without them liking it, but it happens. There is no experience anymore. So again, I'm predicting that we're going to be dealing with some challenges, as you know, across the board in the market. There's going to be some shuffling in terms of how to improve CX, how to address support issues, service issues, how to make sales a good experience again. Within a sales context, none of the proper human interactions exist anymore. Sales is a very intricate, very delicate process. So I would say in 2020 will be a challenging year. Only a few who have figured this out before the pandemic, who have moved to the digital space and utilizing it in a proper way, only those will prevail. But for the rest of us, we need to really learn as fast as possible and turn that into our advantage. One small good news is that after a decade of everybody begging clients to get digital and everybody saying no, we're still going to stick to our fax machines in some cases, not all cases. Now everybody's on online videos and trying to collaborate and share documents online and stuff. So that changed by force. We should take that as one of the few positive things coming out of this situation and capitalize on that.
Probably the only positive thing I would say, where companies were
I
able
try to stay more positive and then imagine that there are more points. There are actually more positive things, and this might not be directly related, but you touched on something, and I think most of us, hopefully all of us, had time to introspect, either personally or from business-wise, and those have had and will have positive effects on how we interact with people. And I'm hopeful and confident that some of that will transition into the way we think about customer experience. Some robotic behavior that has entered the industry might get better. We might look at customer experience under a different light. Yeah.
Now, my next question, Ali, is I would like to take from where you left a little earlier. You know, you did mention few organizations were early to jump into the digital, engagements prior to COVID-19. Now, let's be, I'm talking about these enterprises over here. What was a luxury to have from a digital perspective? Say, for example, online onboarding of customers in a bank or in a telecom company. What was a luxury 3 months back has become a necessity thanks to COVID. Now, from a technology leader's perspective, and organizations are looking at various options in terms of how they could also jump into it and catch this the whole race of engaging customers and not to lose customers at all. So from a technology leader's perspective, Ali, what would be your two piece of advice to these enterprises, to the IT leaders, or probably to the CX leaders of these organizations on how and where they have to prioritize in investing in technology, and how do they have to go about that?
Sure. My 2 cents would be, before even thinking about technology, and technology is playing a key role more than ever today, but it is very shiny. So it's so tempting to wake up in the morning, read a couple of articles, or listen to the previous implementations of some other fancy software and make a decision and buy it. So before doing anything, doesn't matter if you have the budget or not, consult with your people, include your people. I know there's little time, we're pressed into time and all of that, but still, people are going to be the ultimate users of those software technologies. By people, I mean our employees, our partners, internal customers. Without their buy-in, without them being able to use these technologies properly. Doesn't matter in pandemic, before pandemic, post pandemic. Those technologies are, not useful at best and useless. We've seen that. So again, regrouping, talking with different departments and divisions and functions, including HR, IT, sales, marketing, support in all the conversations, and finance, of course, because they're going to sign the check.
They're the one who's signing the check.
Yeah, exactly. Not only this would be an opportunity to reconnect with the business heads and business units, and you should include also people who are in the field, because with all due respect, it is rarely that a CXO knows exactly what is going on in the call center. What are the day-to-day challenges of an employee who is answering calls, like 10 calls an hour or whatever. So to see how this has changed, this is so important. What was valid 6 months ago, it's not valid anymore. And the bigger the organization, the greater the risk. Because in bigger organizations, meetings and boardrooms and these fancy things, and I've been a part of that before in another lifetime, we take our time. We have to take this challenging time as a blessing, because again, the larger the organization, the slower the decision-making process. We become complacent at points. We think that we have all the time in the universe to adopt something and do whatever we want to do, and we often do not include people and get the latest up-to-date information. You might wonder why I'm not talking about them 5 minutes into this answer, but I'm not talking about technology. But every single time I've seen a project fail, a small project of a few $1,000s to a few $1 million, it was because of lack of communication and the fact that people who are making decisions are not talking with the people who are going to ultimately use the solution. Sometimes there's a stark difference between point of view. So again, we need to spend good time on this, and then there's no shortage of good technology out there. And once we reach that point of choosing a technology, which needs to automate our processes, but before that, we have to make sure that our processes apply to the new reality. So that's the time we have to take with people. Machines will not be able to distinguish that for us, not just yet. Maybe in a decade or two, but today you need to talk to your sales manager to see what happened post-COVID on the field. So we do that, then we choose the right technology that automates as much as possible, increases productivity as much as possible, takes care of our information that is scattered right now into people's homes. So it's a security and safety. We have to contain that, and of course, to see how the remote workforce can work, as productive as possible compared to what it was before. We're receiving reports, by the way, and I read articles that in some cases, many cases, employees are more productive working from home, which is a very interesting phenomenon. We'll collect data probably in a year and understand what is going on there. We can guess, but based on data, we can see what went wrong in the office environment. That working at home with all the distractions is more productive than working from the office. So anyway, coming back to your point and wrapping up here is people first, process, and then choose technology. And choose a technology that answers most of your questions. Do not end up buying from 20 different companies because they all offer shiny things. The intangible costs and risks of opening yourself up to multiple vendors shows itself down the road. You might end up saving money or time or answering immediate questions, but in the long run, dealing with multiple vendors is just adding more moving parts to an equation that could be much simpler.
I think you summed it up beautifully. Taking conscience, people first, right from the top to the bottom. People who are actually going to be using the new technology, get them on board, understand what their pain points are, understand what their challenges are, understanding the process, and then go after the technology which could address all these issues of people and the processes. I think that's absolutely beautifully summed up, Ali. Thank you for that. Now, one last question. It's about sharing your personal experience during these pandemic times. Two brands which has stood out uh, purely based upon the kind of customer experience what they have been delivering during these pandemic times.
Yeah, as a resident, as a consumer, I can think of a few really good examples that inspired me on a personal level. First of all, and not as a brand, but in across the board in general, I think two parts of the society stood out in this past time, especially during lockdown. It was the small merchants and retail shops, the supermarket next door, who worked tirelessly from morning to night, served us when we were locked down at home, delivered even the smallest item as fast as possible. And this is so simple. They have not probably, they do not have the academic education in marketing or CX, or they have not attended the seminars we attend. But looking at them, what inspires me is that this is street smart customer experience. To come to my door, deliver a bottle of milk, and give it to me with a smile, knowing that this person is potentially risking themselves because they're exposed to a lot of people, or leaving it by the door and giving me extra space, something that I really appreciate. So you're leaving you with a good memory for a moment, and if I think a lot of people will share that these were the only people we saw for weeks. We didn't have any human interaction other than the people who delivered, groceries or some items to us. That's one area, and this includes all the people who delivered stuff, Amazon drivers or restaurant drivers, all of that. Another is the people who worked in healthcare, and they're still doing it, going the extra mile and restlessly risking their lives, their health, everything, and serving us. Um, this is a great example of how these guys are managing crisis. The rest of us might not be as ready. So this is across the board. Every single interaction I had with these people inspired me. Another specific example is the services we receive from government of Dubai. We're very fortunate. Dubai government is very future, centric and future oriented. The talks of smart Dubai, smart government has been there for years, and now we can see the fruits of that firsthand. There were services who some people, including me, might have seen as novelty. Oh, okay, this feature is online now. I can do it through an app, but I might just visit or I might just call. Now, post-pandemic, we see that wow, those infrastructure put in place, they just made our lives easier and probably made us safer. Then and there was no shortage of customer service. There were clear announcements of everything. So you see, these are tiny, tiny touch points in customer service that goes well beyond just helping me use the product I bought. You're helping me stay healthy and protect my family and myself. So it's like ultimate customer experience implemented and established in a government level, which I think is kind of unique. That's another thing, and I can think of many more examples that inspired me. That's another positive side of this pandemic. You get inspired quite easily because you have time to pay attention to your surrounding.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Ali, thank you for sharing these insights. Absolutely wonderful to have you part of the CX chat show. Before we end this conversation, I know who Zoho is, and I would want you to tell a couple of, in a few sentences about Zoho to our audience as well.
Sure. Zoho is a technology company We've been around for the past 24 years. We are very focused on building, world-class software. Zoho Corporation as a whole has three, subsidiaries, three companies under it. One of them is focused on IT management. It's called Manage Engine. I represent Zoho. We are exclusively on software as a service, internet-based software, and we have MMS, which is focused on Internet of Things. At Zoho, we build around almost 50 applications, and the aim is to make sure that the businesses can run their entire operation and in the cloud only using our software. They, of course, they have the choice of using other software, but to make it a singular point and minimize the complexities is what matters to us. We also work really closely with on customer experience and make sure that experience is always improved. And one of the things I really like to brag about is that 24 years later, we still have that startup culture of innovation, of caring, of being grateful to the SMEs who bring joy and, of course, inspiration to us. So yeah, I'm very happy to be a part of this journey for the past 2.5 years. Yeah.
And we are very happy to be associated with Zoho in more than a couple of instances. It was an absolute pleasure to have you in Kenya and Egypt, inshallah, going forward in our other CX transformation summits as well. Thank you for your time, Ali. Absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for the insights, and wishing you all the best, and stay safe, stay healthy. Regards to Team Zoho.
Thank you so much for having me. You guys also stay safe and healthy. We'll see you hopefully in person very soon.
Inshallah.
Yes. Inshallah.